What's going on, my broskies? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So today we are going to be talking about the medal exchange. Now, this was an update that came out, obviously last month, and we had all of this month with the current medal exchange, where you could get Kaido, Vivi Rebecca, Sabo Koala, a bunch of really cool characters are available from the medal exchange. However, because it was the first month, like, hardly anyone is going to have enough medals to purchase one of those characters. And look, if you are the type of player to have enough medals to purchase one of those characters, most likely you already have those characters anyway. However, now that we're getting into different months now, I want to make this a regular series going forward where we talk about the medal exchange and discuss whether or not certain characters are worth their totals, the amount of Sugo medals that are required for those characters. Is it worth it to pick up those characters? Now look, if you're only missing one of those characters on the list, you probably should pick it up, right? If you have enough medals to do so. But let's just get into it, because I want to discuss each of these characters and discuss whether or not they're worth it. So let's start from the lowest tier, the 150 medal tier. We've got V2 Boa. Now V2 Boa, V2 Boa is not great. Unfortunately, she really doesn't see any play anymore. Her 6-star form is a shooter captain. It does get a buffed captain effect, but it's still not very good. And then when you super evolve the character, she becomes a free spirit captain, and they actually have a little bit of different specials. So the 6+ is a color affinity booster for free spirit, whereas the 6-star form just allows your shooter characters to get matching slots. It's not a very good effect. So for 150 medals, like, yeah, it's cheap, that's for sure, but like, is it worth going ahead and picking up the character for 150 medals? I don't think so. The next one is Buggy, though. Now we all know how good Buggy is. Buggy, yeah, I think if you do not have Sugo Fest exclusive Buggy, but you have 150 medals, I think that's kind of worth it. But then again, if you are missing some of the characters that are a little bit higher up, you maybe want to conserve your medals for potentially a new character that comes out maybe at the end of next month, or if there's a character here in the 400 tier that you really like that you don't have yet, then potentially you could do that as well. But just saying, like, if you have every other character on this list, but like you don't have Buggy, I think picking up Buggy for 150 medals is a bargain. Yeah, I would suggest doing that. But then we've got Blackbeard. Now, Blackbeard is actually another interesting character. Reason for that is because we now know on JP he has his super evolution, the V1 Blackbeard, and his super evolution is actually like pretty decent, especially after expansion. 4 times attack, 1.5 health, bypassing defensive effects. Like, it's a really good captain effect. And then his special ability, Health Cut. It'll also go ahead and reduce bind by 5 turns, block orbs into matching. It's a really good special, and look, the thing is again, he's another really old character. So most people at this point probably already have version 1 Blackbeard. But look, for 150 medals, is he worth going for? Probably not, once again, unfortunately. I can't really recommend using this character or like purchasing this character, because personally speaking, I haven't used V1 Blackbeard in a pretty long time. Like, the last time I used him, actually, technically, the last time I used him was on Raid Sober Mask. I did use him to farm Raid Sober Mask, but that's like a really one-off thing. You're not going to use him regularly to clear content with, unfortunately. So no, I don't suggest picking up Blackbeard. And then version 1 Mihawk, I like version 1 Mihawk. I think he's actually a really cool character, but again, it's another character that really does not see much play anymore. His captain effect is really bad, and his special ability is similar to V2 Dofi, where he does like a huge wave clear depending on how much damage you dealt in the previous turn. So it's a good special, but again, it's another one of the situations where it's like, how often are you really going to use this guy? And the answer to that is not much. You're really not going to be using him all that much. So unfortunately, from the 150 medal tier, I think the only character worth picking up is Buggy, and maybe Blackbeard. If he's like the only one you're missing, maybe, because his 6+ is actually pretty decent, but Buggy seems to be the only decent one there. So moving on to the next tier, the 250 medal tier, we've got V2 Zoro. V2 Zoro, man, he needs a super evolution so goddamn badly. I cannot wait for the day until this guy gets a super evolution, because he is not great. He does have a, actually it's not listed here, but he does have a limit break expansion, which gives him a buffed captain effect, which is nice. But again, with his buffed captain effect, even with expansion, he still has this main problem here, where you only get the maximum attack boost if your character has specifically a Dex or Int orb. That needs to change. Honestly, what it should be is it just should be a matching orb, and then you get the huge boost. That would make this character so much more usable. His special ability, on the other hand, is still fantastic. Even to this day, it's a great special, but the only problem is that it only boosts the slashes, and, you know, there aren't really too many, like, options when you're going to be just building a slasher team for content, and even then, like, depending on what the situation is, you probably already have another Zoro on your team, so it's hard to fit him on teams, right? So a really good way around that is if they made this guy boost slasher and driven class, that would make this character so much better, and you can run him on a lot of different teams. I think that'd be a really, really nice change for the character. But unfortunately, in this day and age, no, he's really not that good. But look, you know, potentially at the end of this month, what if he gets a Super Evolution? Then he might be actually really godly. And then 250 medals for Zoro, especially if his Super Evolution is really good, then yeah, that's totally worth it. But at this point, no, he's not worth it. Next is Cavendish. Honestly, 250 medals for Cavendish is a bargain, I would say. This character is kind of underrated, kind of goes under the radar because driven teams don't see, like, too much play, I would say. But you gotta remember that Cavendish have one of the best switch abilities in the game, give themselves a 1.5 orb boost, reduce damage taken by 25% for one turn, and recovers 5% of your crew's max HP, and they give themselves a matching orb. So defensively, one of the best switch effects in the game. And then their special ability also provides defensive effects and is a 2.25 attack boost to Driven. Their captain ability is also not terrible either. This character is pretty good, but the only problem is like trying to find teams for them. You can use them as a captain. You can hybrid him up with other Driven captains like Douglas Bullet, for example. Douglas Bullet works very, very well as a hybrid captain for this guy. Or, if you've already got Douglas Bullet, you can run this guy as a sub for your Bullet, and this guy provides really good damage reduction, but he also provides an attack boost for your Bullet as well. So, you know, it depends on what kind of situation you're really kind of going for here, but this character doesn't see that much play anymore. You'll sometimes use him on high difficulty content like GARP challenges, maybe training forests, stuff like that. I did actually use him in one of my teams to clear Coliseum Gukimaru, which just released yesterday on Global, as of me recording this video. So, you know, there's a couple of options for the character, and again, if this is like the only character that you're missing, for 250 medals, that's kind of a bargain in my eyes. I think that's pretty good. Version 1 Katakuri, you know my boy Katakuri, I'm a huge fan of him, but for 250 medals, no, I think it's much better to just save your medals because, again, this is a character that just doesn't see any play at this current point in time, especially with, like, how difficult content is nowadays. V1 Katakuri, even with Super Evolution, is just not one of those go-to captains. So for that reason, I probably would steer clear of this. And then V3 Sabo, who is... Look, I think he would be better if the classes that he boosted were a little better, or if there were just other Sabo characters that didn't take his position. So what do I mean by that? So, well, there's a lot of Sabos, goddamn. This Sabo right here, this is the Sabo that's going to be for 250 medals. So this guy, his captain effect is not great because you have to continuously kill stuff, and if you don't, you just lose your stacks, and it's not the best. He's got a good crewmate ability, making tandem and recovery orbs beneficial to 3 separate classes. I love that. And then he is a 3x chain locker and an orb booster for fighters, shooters, and free spirits. For free spirit, Sabo and Koala basically take his position. For fighters, technically he could still be used on a fighter team, and shooters are just never used at all. So look, unless if you're using him on a fighter team, you're probably not going to be using him on a free spirit team, though you can if you want to. It's just if you're using Sabo and Koala, then you won't have, you know, space for this guy. I didn't actually see his expansion gives him 12 turns of cooldown. That's actually pretty good. So, look, I don't really think that any of those are, like, solid choices for 250 medals. I'd say, like, if anything, Barto and Cavendish are definitely the best one here in terms of the value for the character. I still think Barto and Cavendish are a relatively top-tier unit. I think if you don't have them, if they're the only one on the list you don't have, then yes, definitely worth the purchase. So now we've got the 400 medal tier, okay? So this is the big one right here. Now, interestingly enough, V2 Nami is on the list. Now, V2 Nami, I've talked about her extensively in other videos of mine, but I am not a fan of the way that they built this character. So the way that they built this character, the reason why I don't like it is the special ability. So if your health is above 99%, you remove defense debuff protection, and then you get the 100% defense reduction for 2 turns and a 2x conditional for 2 turns against defense down. That's cool. And then if you're not at 99% health or higher, you are just going to recover half of your health, and then you get 1 turn of the 2x conditional that self-procs. So the problem here is that if the enemy has full debuff immunity, her special ability is pretty useless. It doesn't do much at all. So that's the big downfall there. Honestly, what it should have been is that if you're above 99%, it should have been a flat out, you know, reduced defense by 100% that goes through all immunity buffs. if they give her a super evolution that does something like that, this character is going to be absolutely godly. But until that point, no, this character is not going to see as much play as what she really should have. There's a couple of little changes would make this character so top tier, dude. And then her captain ability, it's basically like a buffed version of V2 Shanks. But the problem here is that V2 Shanks' special works so much better with his captain ability compared to, you know, Nami's special with her captain ability. V2 Shanks just does it way better. But the captain effect is not unusable, I will say. It's not an unusable captain effect. It's just not a captain effect that's going to be like your go-to, unfortunately. She does have 3-turn special reverse resistance, which is pretty good. But nothing really too crazy. Like, I don't think 400 medals for this character is worth it. I do not agree with that. Definitely not worth it. And then you got Halloween Ace. Dude, okay, look. If you don't have Halloween Ace, I would say this is probably worth the 400 medals. This character is pretty insane. Personally speaking, I haven't used this character in a little bit, but on paper, he is amazing, right? Fighter and shooter 4 times captain, 1.5 health, sign in beneficial, reduce 10 turns of special bind, and 10 turns of special reverse. What a captain effect, dude. Obviously, he boosts shooters, which is a bit of a problem, but fighters are still very good in the game. Makes Psy recovering 10 beneficial to himself. That doesn't matter too much, but his special ability as well, 10 turns reduction of bind, and then a 2.5 attack boost to fighter and shooter. It's a very simple special, but a very effective special at that. And the great thing about this character as well is that he has one of the greatest support effects, 3 turns of bind reduction, and it can attach to Luffy or Sabo, dude. This character is fantastic. If you do not have this character, I think this is a well worth purchase, honestly. V2 Ace, Halloween Ace, absolutely phenomenal. And then Douglas Bullet, dude. We were talking about Bullet a little earlier with, what's his face, Barto Cavendish and such. Douglas Bullet's one of my favorite legends in the game. I think if you don't have this character yet, again, this is also kind of worth 400 medals. But at the same time, like, we've had previous Sugo Fest where he was guaranteed. This character's been out for nearly a year now. So a lot of players who have been actively playing likely have this character. But if you're in that situation where you don't have him yet, I think this is a higher priority purchase compared to Halloween Ace. That's the way that I look at it anyway. But look, you got to look at a couple different things, right? If you can just clear content, completely fine without Douglas Bullet. Like, if there's certain situations where you're like, damn, I wish I had Douglas Bullet, then yeah, maybe you're the type of person that would really like to use him. But at the same time, Halloween Ace has also seen so much play recently, and more often than not, I'll be using him as a support. His support is so godly, right? You know, Bullet has one of the best stat boosting supports, but like, the utility that Ace gives you, that's also something you really cannot disregard, right? I do think Bullet is probably the better choice as an overall unit, but you got to take all the things into consideration here, and Halloween Ace has one of the greatest supports in the game currently, so you cannot disregard that. I do think that Ace or Bullet are definitely worth the 400 medal purchase, definitely. And then the final character on the list is Shirahoshi Manchuri. No, I don't suggest purchasing this character for 400 medals. Unless if legit you have every other character in the game except for Shirahoshi Manchuri and you get the opportunity to get him here, then yeah, definitely go for it. But again, just personally speaking, I haven't used this character that much in the past like 12 months or so. I've used them for like a couple of the GARP challenges and stuff, like for the 10-star difficulty ones, because they're Psy, they're Int, they are Cerebral as well, Striker, Free Spirit. They fit in a lot of different categories there. So for that reason, I use them for that. But like in generic content like raids, Colosseums, stuff like that, I haven't really used them all that much, but they are very, very good. So again, I'd only purchase this character or like a V2 Nami if they're legit the only character in the game that you're missing. But outside of that, these two, yes. Ace and Bullet are so worth the 400 medals. I personally like Bullet a little bit better, but Ace has really good supports that are going to help you clear content. For the 250 medals, just to reiterate once again, Barto Cavendish are a really good choice. Sabo, maybe, but I think Barto Cavendish is easily the best choice out of the 250 medals. And then for the 150 medals, Buggy is probably the best choice there, but V1 Blackbeard with his Super Evolution is also pretty good, so take that as you will. But I think that honestly, if none of these characters really entice you, just save your medals. Save your medals because you never know, next month they might have a really OP character that's going to be available. Like, what if Shanks Crew becomes available? Like, you never know, right? There could be some really crazy characters that could be available in the future. But that is going to conclude this video talking about the medal exchange. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you guys realize which of the characters are definitely the most worth it. And look, it is a lot of medals to get to this point here, so I don't think a lot of people watching this video are probably going to have 400 medals at this point. But look, it's just saying that if you do, these are my opinions on the characters here. So hopefully you guys learned something here, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the video today. And if you guys did, make sure to go ahead and hit the like button. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.